Roth here of Rotogrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that Rotogrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on Rotogrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels, and we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your Rotogrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @Rotogrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84. Be hosting the show for you for the next 45 minutes or so as we break down another golf tournament coming off a wild week of golf with the match play and the Corrales Championship last week. So it turns out that Scotty Scheffler is prime Tiger Woods right now, and that's the way things went in the match play. So it was chaotic as usual, and lots of chalk plays, not getting through the group stages. But that's what we warned you last week. Expect the unexpected when it came to the match play. And I'll bring in my co-host, Mr. Derek Farnsworth, aka Notorious. And Noto, how was the week for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We talked ourselves out of Scheffler. 11K for a guy that's won, 2 of his last 4 starts. No way he can win again. But he proved us wrong, and he was pretty great throughout the week. I think Fitzpatrick was the closest to beating him. He had like a 10-footer in that playoff and ended up missing it. And those are the breaks that you need in order to win, these kind of events. But it was a lot of fun. I couldn't really sweat it much while I was out there. I was busy getting drinks and food and souvenirs, and no service to sweat, any of the golfers on the holes. So, going to an event, it's a great experience, but not great for the sweat. That's for sure.
So would you say that it's better for the sweat at a stroke play event then if you're there in person?
I mean, I think it's better at home. You got all your,
obviously it's better
open,
at home, but
you got your TV working. I don't know. You just don't see a lot of golf shots. You're trying to, track, your favorite golfers, and it's a lot of fun, but yeah, I didn't, see a lot of golf. I had to watch, the recap, the highlights on Golf Channel when I got home each night, and so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, definitely prefer the sweat from home. That's for sure.
My go-to when I would go to the John Deere Classic was to play like 50% of 3 random guys that were in the same group, like not the 3 most notable guys in the field because that's who the whole crowd follows, but like 3 guys with reasonably good chances to make the cut and not going to have a big group following them, and play like 50% of all 3 of them and then follow that group around the course for the first 2 rounds. So that was my way to sweat the DFS lineups and still go in person. But I'd imagine that would have been significantly harder, obviously, with the match play. If you're watching a match, you can't play both of the guys. So, yeah, definitely a lot harder for the sweat, but definitely a fun experience, I'm sure. So, the Corrales, we also had that last week. So I didn't get a ton of lineups in the match play. They filled kind of early, the big tournaments. So I played more lineups. I put like 100 lineups in the big GPP for the Corrales. I had 75% of my lineups get either 5 or 6 golfers through the cut. And the field average was like 35, I think, like 5 or 2 or 3%, 6 to 6. And I had 15 or 16. So, I mean, I had lineups all over the place. And one of my best lineups ended up being 5 guys in the top 10 plus Nick Hardy, who missed the cut by bogeying his last 2 holes. I didn't go back and do the math to see what he would have needed on the weekend for me to ship it. But anyway, I cashed with like 62 out of 100 lineups, and I only made like $500. It was an unsatisfying good week. Because I had so many lineups with a chance. But in the match play, thank goodness, because I didn't have much shufflers. So glad I didn't get too much invested in there. But and the Corrales, I mean, it was the guys that we talked about, the Korn Ferry Tour graduates coming up on the PGA Tour. Alex Smalley had a really good week. Chad Ramey ended up winning. So I mean, those tournaments can be difference makers for those guys that are looking to get their W and catch their break, and obviously the money and all the exemptions that come along with a win. So Ramey, that was a big win for him.
Yeah, big win for him. Big week for Ben Martin too. He's been grinding forever. I think he locked up something, didn't he? I saw him in tears afterwards.
Yeah. Now I forget.
But yeah, I had a good week at Corrales too. I only made one lineup, didn't really sweat it much. I had 5 or 6. So maybe next year we just let everyone else focus on the match play. That's just volatility galore, and we focus on Corrales. But
there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. I always like having the double sweat. You kind of feel like if one of your events is dead, the other one still has some hope. So that's always a lot of fun. And like you mentioned, it's just it's a good opportunity for a lot of those golfers.
Anything else, takeaways from either tournament or the match play with how your lineups shook out?
I mean, hard to believe Scheffler is number 1 in the world. Just a couple months ago, I think he was outside of the top 10, but a bunch of good finishes at the majors and 3 wins in his last 5 starts. That'll do it. So really impressive to see him get it done on 3 different tracks like that. Dustin, you knew he was going to just flop in that consolation match there at the end. I wish I would have had a bookie I could have hammered Connors in that one. But yeah, it's a fun event. I always love the match play. I think it's a good course for it. I hope they keep it going. A lot of people hate on the pool play, but I kind of like it just because you feel like your golfers, you at least get an extra sweat for another day or two when you have that pool play.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of double-edged sword because you feel like if your guy loses the first day, the odds of him advancing are really slim. And but then you see the ones that go to a playoff, and I don't know. It's just so unique, and it's certainly fun to talk about for a week, and see how things are going. And one of the interesting things about last week was that Rory McIlroy decided to skip last week in order to play this week, which is rare. He almost never does that, but maybe looking to change things up ahead of the major. And you always wonder what guys' angles are, heading into this week. And just from a general strategy standpoint, then we'll start breaking down the golfers. But you look at a guy right now, we've got Corey Connors as the second highest owned golfer in the field. Dude played 7 rounds last week, versus Rory, who's intentionally decided to schedule this instead of last week. So, what do you make of the motivation angle for guys that are in the Masters next week, or guys who maybe got through the group stage and played a lot of rounds last week?
I mean, it's probably something that we're going to talk up that's not going to have, a lot of bearing on how they do this week. But like you mentioned, I mean, Connors played 36 holes on the weekend, or each day on the weekend. That's a lot. He did get one of his rounds off since Paul Casey, only played 1 hole or whatever it was. But still, I mean, that's a ton of golf. And it was hot out there. We were dying just walking around. So I can't imagine, golfing, 36 holes a day. So I got to think fatigue sets in a little bit. I did bump him down a little bit. I'm probably not going to have a ton of Connors. We can get there in a minute. But I do think it's certainly an advantage if golfers didn't play last week or ended up having an early exit from the match play.
All right, so this week we've got the annual Valero Texas Open in advance of the Masters. TPC San Antonio will be the host course this week. A relatively underwhelming field, but I don't know. I think you like it a little better than me, so maybe you can sell me on a few guys throughout the show. But what do we have for a course this week?
I don't know. I mean, last year I think Hoffman and Spieth were the two favorites, and they ended up coming first and second. So I mean, this year we got Rory, we got Bryson, we got a couple big names in the field. So I don't think it's terrible the week before a major, especially with so many guys teeing it up last week. But TPC San Antonio, par 72, over 7,400 yards, designed by Greg Norman. So I'm sure the PGA Tour loves us talking him up this week. With the Saudi angle and all that stuff going on. As far as off the tee, pretty narrow fairways. They're tough to hit. And I've heard differing reports. Some of the golfers have said the rough isn't penal at all. And I've heard other reports saying it is penal. So I'm going to try to dig into that a little bit more throughout the week. But either way, the greens are going to be tough to hit. So approach play is going to be important. These greens are tiered. So you want to be able to, hit your approaches to the right sections of the greens. I think stroke gain around the green is going to come into play with a lot of these golfers missing greens. Does look like it's going to be pretty windy on Thursday and Friday. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for a potential, tee time advantage. And then, it's Texas. So guys that play in wind, guys that have, experience in Texas, I think never hurts. And each of the last 4 winners here have been in the top 4 stroke gain approach. So again, I do think iron play is going to be the most important stat that you want to look at, but that's pretty much the case, every week.
Yeah, for sure. Iron play always a plus. I think distance is a plus here, as long as you can hit it straight enough off the tee. So it'll be interesting to see how easy the course plays. We have seen several occasions where weather has made an impact here. So just keep a close eye on it. And that's what I was trying to look up while you were talking, to see what we've got so far. So Thursday, 8 miles an hour, Friday, 15 miles per hour. So just double check that forecast. They're getting 20 to 30 mile an hour winds in Texas today. So too bad we didn't have golf today. 87 degrees and 20 mile an hour winds tomorrow. So if there's a pro-am, they'll be hitting it all over the place. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Certainly a course that generally plays a little bit harder, obviously, if it's windy. Last year, the first couple rounds, the scoring was pretty rough. Got better as the tournament went along. So anything else in general before we dig in?
No, I think let's get into the field.
All right. So I mentioned Rory playing this week instead of last week intentionally. You have to think that he's not just going to pack it in. He obviously decided on this schedule for a reason. We've got Matsuyama, we've got Spieth, who you talked about last week. Me never writing him up and writing him up last week. And this was the tournament last year. I looked back at my article where I put him in there and said, you see the pig flying outside your window. That's me talking up Jordan Spieth. So worked out for me last year. One of the only times I've played him all year. So he's in the field this week. No surprise. We've got Answer and we've got DeChambeau as our golfers above 10K. So how are you deciphering this group at the top?
Well, right off the bat, I'm going to cross off the guys that are dealing with injuries. Hideki Matsuyama withdrew from the players. I think he had a back or neck injury. It was hard to decipher from the reports that came out that day. And then Bryson's been dealing with the hand and hip injuries. He looked okay at times at the match play last week, but I think both of them are just here to try to, get a tune-up for the Masters. I think, if they don't get off the great starts, they're not going to be grinding out to make the cut. So I'm okay crossing them off my list of targets. It's hard not to like Rory. I mean, he's going to be incredibly, highly owned. He rates out as the #1 golfer in any model that you're going to look at. Like you mentioned, he's coming off of the rest last week. He was second here in his only appearance in 2013 and pretty much checks all the boxes. One of the best drivers of the ball in the game, pretty good iron numbers, pretty good everything. So I like Rory. And the guy in the chat's asking, is fading Rory a good way to just get leverage on the field in large field cash lineups? And I don't really think you need to worry about leverage as much in cash myself. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, I wouldn't fade him in cash for any sort of leverage. Like that's a GPP strategy you can use, but
Yeah.
you don't want to be playing that angle. Like you don't want to be the only person not playing Rory in cash if he projects as the best golfer. If he misses the cut, it works out. But if he doesn't, I mean, that could just give you your L right there in cash games. So yeah, if you don't feel that comfortable with him, don't play him in your GPP lineups. But in cash, I am with you. I think he's your starting point.
Yeah, I do too. And, he's always done different things before the Masters. Some weeks he likes to take the week before off. This week he wants to play the tournament before because he doesn't want to think about the Masters, wants to focus all of his attention on this event. So I think he's going to play well. He does have a win before a major, 3-4 major in his career. So he's my favorite up there. I think Spieth is fine. The concern with him is his putting's been pretty bad over the last couple months. I mean, I think last week he lost 6.6 strokes on the greens, and that's kind of tough because it's match play and, some holes are conceded and whatnot, but pretty ugly putting numbers last week. So my favorite's going to be Rory. My second favorite's going to be Answer. If he's going to be 10%, I'll take my chances with him. He's from San Antonio, so it's essentially a home game for him. Never missed a cut here. Played really well last week, making it to the final 8. So yeah, I like Answer and I like Rory up here.
And the big question is Bryson. What do we do with Bryson? It was pretty easy to write him off last week, but now we've got a weak field. Who knows? Is he just going to be testing stuff out?
I'm out.
You're just totally out.
I'm out both the guys, Hideki and Bryson.
All right. Hideki, I'm with you. I think the injury concerns are too great. Bryson, I don't know. He's more of a wild card for me. I think I wish he wasn't. We've got him at 14%. Like if he's going to end up being 13, 15, 17%, I'm also probably out. I figured the world would be off of him, and I was maybe slightly interested because, well, I mean, let's be real. That the other factor here is that there's a drop off from the top range to the 9Ks. Like there's Gary Woodland was 7K a month ago. Nobody wanted to play him. Then he had those two good tournaments, and then he was chalk again, and he was brutal after that. And so I think my quote even was that I'm gonna, I think I'm good on Woodland for a while. Now Woodland's 9,300. He's going to be one of the highest owned guys in the field. So that just goes to tell you how much this field drops off. So that's why I don't know. Bryson still pending for me. I think he's interesting because I'm not playing Connors at 9,800 at 22% ownership. I'm too worried about how much golf he played last week. Unless is Connors not in the Masters?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I gotta look. I got the Masters field.
I know Richard Bland just needed to beat DJ, and he would have been in last week.
Connors is already in the Masters. I'm out on Connors. No chance.
I think I am too. I gotta have a little bit because he rates out well. He rates out as the second best golfer in my model this week. If I, don't adjust for
it'll be fatigue. The first best golfer on the bench when he starts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's just a lot of golf. Bryson just, I don't know. He could easily just miss the cut by 5 strokes. I don't think any of these other guys, even in the 9Ks, I think they all have a little bit higher floors. Granted, Bryson, if you're playing MME, certainly a higher ceiling than almost anyone in the field.
He'll probably end up in my GPP pool, but still deciding. So, and that's because I'm out on Connors, and that's solely because he's in the Masters and he played the full week. And granted, maybe he didn't have to work super hard against DJ and Casey, pulled out after a couple holes. So maybe I'm overthinking that, but then I just looking to see, well, he's going to be super chalk anyway. So we'll fade some chalk. So that's the reason why I don't mind Bryson a little bit. Cause I'm out on Connors. I'm out on $9,600 Siwoo Kim. Then the field just drops off, but yet we've still got some chalk here. So
what about Answer? You have a
I'm fine with Answer. Yeah, I didn't intentionally overlook him, but I like your comments there. And I mean, he's solid all. Like I don't think he's just gonna go pack it in, and I think he'll get you a made cut, and he's obviously got some win equity if he's in the mix headed to the weekend. So yeah, I like Answer. He's probably the number 2 behind McIlroy if I'm ranking out. Probably McIlroy, Answer, Spieth, Bryson for me, and then I'm out on Matsuyama as well. All right, what of this 9K chalk are you eating?
Yeah, it's all chalk. It's kind of weird. And they all feel very overpriced. But my favorite of the bunch is going to be Chris Kirk. He's been playing really well. He's gained tee to green in 11 straight and plays this event every year. He's got a lot of high finishes. So 9,400 doesn't feel great, but he's probably my favorite of the bunch. I don't mind going back to Woodland. You mentioned the back-to-back top fives and then the miscut, but he did bounce back with the T21 after that. And, his numbers have been much better since the start of the year than they were at any point last year. He did finish T6 here at this event last year. So those two would probably be my favorites. But, man, I kind of feel like I need to go back to Tony Finau. This is, if he was in a little bit better form, he'd easily be in the 10K range. I know he didn't play great. Actually, hasn't played great in a few months now, but made a ton of birdies against Xander. Actually followed him a little bit in that match because nobody was watching those guys. But yeah, so I think Finau is interesting. 13% too. I never thought he'd be cheaper than some of the names above him and be lower owned. So I like him a little bit.
Yeah, we're gluttons for punishment with that one. I'm in the same boat. I have him tagged up there in our lineup HQ tools, which of course you can get yourself access to Rotogrinders Premium. The Masters is next week. So, and baseball starts next week. Good time if you are not a premium subscriber. If you're just watching us live on YouTube, head on over to rotogrinders.com and get yourself a premium subscription, the combo package that covers basically every sport. They got all sorts of different packages for you to choose from and time periods and all that. So check us out, rotogrinders.com. Best value for your money with all the sports getting rolling here. NBA, NHL still going on, golf, of course, with the Masters coming up and baseball starting next week. So fun time of the year on the sports calendar. And if you do want to chat along with us during the show, we are in the Rotogrinders Discord. You can access that for free as long as you have a Rotogrinders account. So rotogrinders.com/Discord. And we are in the live stream chat channel. You can find us in there during the show. We'll take your questions if you have them. All right. So yes, I'm with you on Finau. I don't have a strong positive take on a lot of the other guys. I just think the ownership is a little bit uncomfortable, but I will probably sprinkle them in. Finau will definitely be the one I am the most overweight on. And the others, it's probably going to come down to what our final ownership numbers look like. And I'll be underweight on some of the more popular ones just from a game theory perspective in GPPs. I think Kirk is probably your safest play if you're looking for kind of a cash game guy in that range. Anything else in the 9Ks that we missed?
Well, poor Keegan Bradley. I think he's played 20, match plays in his career, and he has one win. Didn't pick up any more.
That's not great.
Week. He had like a 4-footer to get another one under his belt. Missed it on 18 last week, so feel bad for him. A good ball striker though, much better in stroke play. And then, are you buying into the Jason Day narrative? Needs to win to get into the Masters.
Nope.
Yeah, I got another guy later on that we'll talk about that needs the same thing.
Another guy that needs a win to get in.
Yep.
Okay.
Former great
Ricky Fowler.
Yes, sir.
He's even farther down the list. We're not going to get to him for a while.
He's at least cheaper.
Yeah. No, I'm out on Day. Though it is strange to see Hadwin as chalk, another guy that's just been playing a lot better. Where do you stand on Hadwin there at 8,900?
I'm okay with him or without him. Don't love the ownership, but been playing some good golf. I typically like him a little bit more on the shorter tracks. This is the 7,400 yard plus course, but T23 here last year. Good putter. Don't really have a strong take one way or the other. I like the guys below him a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Again, okay, keeping him in your player pool, but Streelman is a guy that will pop a little bit. Like a lot of times people are just either going off a recent form with Hadwin or going off course history. But again, I don't really think there's a huge step down from some of the 9K golfers to some of these. Knox would be my favorite if you look at more near-term stats, like just in 2022 so far. Knox is pretty solid. I think 8th in this field in ball striking this year. So I'm always a sucker for Knox in these weaker fields. So with the stats he's put up this year, wasn't too hard to sell me on Knox. So he's my favorite in the 8Ks. What are you looking at in here?
Yeah, we had a question about Davis Riley and his price tag. I don't understand it either. I have him as the 53rd best golfer in the field, and he's the 18th most expensive. So I don't think I'll be paying that much for him, and I'm surprised he's getting double-digit ownership. I much prefer Knox, but I also like Johnny Vegas coming off of a T4 at Corrales. He lives in Houston, so very used to Texas. I think he went to the University of Texas too, and not the best course history. So I think that's why he's not getting a ton of love here, but he has been playing some great golf over the last 9 months. He's top 10 off the tee and on approach in this field, which I like. And then moving down, I like Mito Pereira. His ball striking numbers are back, so I'm not worried about him being a first timer here. And then I love Patton Kizzire. Over his last 5 events, he's gained 13 strokes on approach. He was T9 here last year, and very good putter. So I think he makes a lot of sense at 8K. But the big question mark that I wanted to ask you, what are you doing with Charlie Hoffman?
Yeah, I don't know. Always good in Texas, and he just struggled with injury for the last few months. But I guess he's healthy now. I don't know. It's not like we've seen a bunch of quotes from him or anything. And the first round leader at the Masters is coming around. I don't know. It feels like nerve wracking, but in theory, he's a strong play if he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Charlie Hoffman Open, but man, his numbers have been so bad. Tee to green his last 5, minus 3.4, minus 1.4, minus 4, minus 11, and minus 3. So, I mean,
but how far back does that? I mean, how long has it been since he's played 5 events? It's probably been like 6 months.
He's played 4 since the start of February.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that many with how many. I guess it just stands out when he kept withdrawing every week right before. All right. I mean, I don't know.
Some of it's injury related for sure, but man, it just seems like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of wrote him up in my model as if he's going to be low owned, I'll have some, and he's going to be low owned. So I guess I got to stick with that.
Yeah, I'll get my heartburn with Palmer, I guess.
Yeah, same, basically the same play in theory. Yeah. I mean, both in terrible form, both love this event.
Last 5 years here, Palmer has 3 top 25s or something along those lines and 2 missed cuts. So that's pretty much Ryan Palmer in a nutshell for you. Anything else in the 8Ks that you have come across?
I think I'm going to be off a Luke list. Ever since his win, he's just kind of been, treading water, some missed cuts, a WD, didn't make out of match play. Do you have a strong take on him? He tends to be popular.
Yeah, I'm probably out at that salary, and he'll probably end up coming in a little higher owned. No strong take, but yeah, I'm probably out. I'd probably play Vegas over him.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Let's see. Did you touch on Kizzire at all at 8K?
Yeah, probably my favorite play of the group.
Let's go ahead and move down into the 7.6 to 7.9K range. Not a whole lot of chalk from here on out because the field really starts to thin out. So you're going to see a whole lot of guys that are basically 6, 7, 8, 9% owned, and it becomes pick your favorite as opposed to a whole lot of game theory down here. So go ahead. You can talk about Fowler now because he finally has arrived.
I mean, I'm going to regret it for sure, but hey, he gained 6 strokes ball striking at the APIs last time out, and back-to-back top 17s at this event. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's something there. So I'm going to take a little bit of him at 7,700. He actually doesn't rate out as like a terrible play for me, which is rare. And I always have a soft spot for him. But if I'm doing single entry, I much prefer KH Lee. He's made 11 straight cuts. He has a win in Texas. He always plays well at these TPC courses, and he doesn't really have a weakness. Back-to-back top 25s at this event as well. So he's my favorite play in the range. And then I'm also going to be going to Brendan Still. He's won this event, and after just some terrible golf, he's finally found something. Gained 7.3 and 11.8 strokes ball striking in his last 2 outings. So if he can get anywhere close to that at an event that he's won, feels comfortable on these greens, I think he makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
I think that's a nice upside play, kind of like that one. though they're all going to sound a little better than Fowler for me. But I don't think the Fowler argument is horrible this week, and that's about as much of an endorsement as I generally give with Ricky.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's horrible. Kuchar's had some results here if you want to play the course history angle, but again, there's just not a whole lot. I mean, Thigala's been playing fairly well. He's shown some sparks at times this year. He's also going to be the highest owned in this range. I feel like no matter what I do with Doug Gim now is going to fail, because if I just keep fading him now after I missed out on the one good week, he's probably going to just keep it rolling. And if I go back to the well, it feels like he's going to go back to his usual, T50s. But what are you doing with my boy Gim?
He just seems to be, so when he has one good week, just the masses just come flocking in and play him. So I rarely play him, which is weird because I usually like the ball striker types that can't putt, but for whatever reason, he's just never on my radar. He is a Texas guy, so if you want to play that angle, I certainly don't mind it. But for me, I'm just going to play him with the players and fade him every other week from here on out, I think.
The motto of Doug Gim for Noto. So, all right. So Noto likes KH Lee, Fowler, Steele in that range. I'll probably get sucked into a little bit of Gim, but definitely kind of a wide open. The rest of this is pretty wide open. I think Laird at 7,500 is another guy that I like. Really strong history here. The last 5 years, he's gained, I think, 20 some odd strokes on the field. And his stats don't look too bad lately. I think he's top 20 in ball striking on tour this year. So Laird at 7,500, I think, is one of the safer plays in this kind of mid-tier value range. So I like him at 7,500. Anybody else kind of around that 7,500 mark that you like?
I don't mind Laird, and for whatever reason, I've never thought of him as a really bad putter, but he's almost dead last on tour in strokes gained putting. I don't know if that's a recent development with him, or do you remember him being a bad putter?
Not that bad, not like Kyle Stanley bad.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad lately. So if he can just turn it around a little bit, you mentioned his course history. I think just finding something, having a little more confidence at a course that you like does make some sense. What about Rasmus Højgaard up at the top?
I mean, I haven't played him yet. I haven't played any of them yet, but
he's playing good.
Yeah, he is. I don't mind that. Probably depends on the ownership thing, but I think there is a reasonable ceiling there compared to some others, maybe in this range that don't have as much ceiling. I think his miscut odds are probably a little higher than the Kuchars and, some of those guys. But if you're looking GPPs, there's certainly some potential with him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And Kuchar and Poulter, they're going to probably make the cut, give you T35s. So if that's what you're looking for, it's not a bad price for them.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move down to the lower half of the 7K range. You got any favorites in there?
I'm looking at Lucas Glover, a guy that I just looked at strokes gained in Texas, and he's second only to Jordan Spieth over the last 4 years. So tends to play very well in Texas, T14, T4 here the last 2 years. Recent form doesn't look good at all, but it's mostly been with the short game. So maybe you can turn that around a little bit this week. After that, I don't have anybody that really stands out. I mean, Dylan Fratelli is a Texas guy. I heard he was on PGA Tour Live last week. Did you see that?
Really? No, I didn't.
He was just on that. He was an on-course reporter last week at the
getting that supplemental income.
That was kind of strange to me. So I got to go look at some highlights there. But in the lower range, I like Alex Smalley. I mean, we've both been on him a ton since the swing season, so might as well keep it going. Almost won last week at Corrales. I like Pat Perez, kind of similar to Kuchar and Poulter, in that he's probably going to grind out a made cut for you, but he's a little bit cheaper than those two. And then I like Matthias Schwab. Back-to-back top sevens in Florida and Puerto Rico, and then made the cut last week, but his stats look pretty good this year.
And I think it was, I didn't play him last week, but I think it was just like one bad round. Maybe he had 2 really good rounds and 2 bad rounds. I can't remember, but I know he was kind of bebopping up and down the leaderboard there at Corrales last week.
We don't have shot link, but I was doing the showdown projection. So I tried to use the old school, driving accuracy, driving distance, and greens and regulation for the ball striking. And he was top 5 all week, and then just couldn't do anything on and around the greens is my guess.
And I'm with you on Smalley. I think Smalley is the the best point per dollar value in the field. I mean, and again, we've both been on him. So I played him last week. He was in my player pool, and I'm not gonna in a weak field where he's like 7K. I'm absolutely not gonna walk away from that now. So I'm in on Smalley. That was a pretty easy call. We'll have quite a bit of him at that salary. Just seems like he could probably be 77, 7,800, and he would still rate out pretty well. So anything else in the 7Ks that we missed that you like?
Along the same lines as Smalley, I like Taylor more. He was been great for him until the Florida stretch. Maybe just Florida golf isn't his, cup of tea. So I don't mind going back to him. His stats are pretty solid. And then Bo Hostler is the Texas guy. A couple of recent top 20s. Yeah, I bumped him up 15%, and he still rates out as a bad play. So that's not great from a modeling standpoint. But he's one of those guys that I just play when he's in Texas.
Yeah, always seems to pop here for whatever reason. Richard Bland to get into the Masters. Are we buying that narrative?
I mean, man, the guy, he's got some grit to him. I mean, he's a grinder. I wish he played over here a little bit more, because we only see him in the big events, and it's kind of hard to tell if it's fluky or not. But I mean, he's always a guy I'm rooting for. I always like the underdog. So I probably won't play much of him, but I'll cheer for him.
All right. Neesmith, I don't mind at 7,100. Always kind of chased his upside. He had a pretty good start a few weeks back, though he is looking to be perhaps one of the most popular guys in that range. And I mean, you might want to mix and match some of those low end 7K plays to round out your lineups, because boy, the 6Ks, it's ugly. There's just a whole lot of 3 and 4 percenters in here. You have anybody that stands out to you in the 6Ks?
Not really. The model likes Andrew Putnam a little bit. He does have a top 10 finish here a couple years ago, but I mean, he's just been terrible recently. And he's mostly just a putter, one of the shorter hitters in the field. So I don't feel great about that. Do you have anybody? I'll try to. What about Peter Eulin? He rates out as a decent value for me. Been playing well on the Corn Ferry Tour. It's still minimum at 6K.
Yeah, I played a little bit of him last week too at Corrales. He made the cut. Didn't do much else, but I don't hate it at 6K. He's definitely the best play at 6,000. That's no doubt. Probably the best play under 65.
Snedeker's 6,300. I didn't even know he was here. He crushes this event.
The mighty have fallen. I mean, I tagged Svensson because I just think he has shown a ceiling occasionally, but it's not like I love it by any means. I just think he's a solid risk reward guy, like Buckley maybe, but nothing that just stands out as amazing. Looks like your model numbers don't hate Putnam.
Yeah, Putnam. Yeah, he's fine. Matt Wallace, maybe 6,400. He was third here last year, but he's missed like 8 cuts in a row. So don't feel great about that. I mean, yeah, this is a week where I don't think you need to dip into here.
You said that you thought the field was okay.
At the top.
It was top heavy. It's too top heavy.
Man, to be fair, the 6K range this week might be better than the 6K range next week with all those old dudes in
with
there.
all the retired guys. Yeah, it's a little always ugly with the Masters as well. But Patrick Rogers is 6,600.
I mean, he used to be a guy that would bomb it off the tee and putt well, and lately he's not doing either of those
He's not
things.
doing anything well.
So yeah, that's not a great combo.
That's a no for me. All right.
Aaron Rye. We played him a lot a few months ago.
Yeah, I think he missed the cut last week at Corrales.
He did.
He missed the cut on the number.
He 3-putted his last hole, and he was in my main lineup. I was pretty mad about it, but then the cut ended up moving another stroke. So
it did.
So it's okay.
Was the very last golfer in the field move the cut line. Would have been a wild cut sweat in a full field event, but didn't get too much attention, obviously, because it was just Corrales. But it was a pretty crazy cut sweat there last week. Well, I think we've tried to navigate. Anything else in the? I accidentally closed the Discord. Anything else in the Discord chat?
Let me look. We could talk about Tiger and where his plane's at right now.
So Tiger's airplane was getting airtime on the Twitter machine this morning, and Noto gave it the eyeballs. So Tiger went to Augusta, so everyone thinks he's playing next week.
Yeah,
Does Noto think he's playing next week?
There's thousands of private investigators just tracking his every move. We saw him at Medalist, taking a swing and walking the course, and now his jet's headed to Augusta National or around those parts. So I don't know. I think I hope he's gonna tee it up, obviously. And I mean, he doesn't seem like a guy that's just gonna go out there if he doesn't, think he's ready. So if he plays, I think he's gonna at least feel confident enough to be, pretty good next week. So
would you play him in DFS?
I mean, I've never not played him in DFS. Even when, even at like the Hero, his first week back in 6 years or whatever that was.
But that was the Hero. This is the Masters.
Oh yeah, that was one of my best weeks is when he won the Masters a couple of years ago. So I
know that, but he wasn't coming off of a year or whatever layoff.
Doesn't matter. It's Tiger. Yeah, there's one guy I have a blind spot for, and that's him. So. Well, and maybe some Ricky too this week. We'll see how that fares. If that fares well, then I'll go back to Tiger.
So that's foreshadowing.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun, even if he doesn't suit up or whatever the term is for golf, and put his golf cleats on. It's going to be a fun week, and can't wait for it.
Well, we'll see if Tiger ends up teeing off at the Masters. Surely the TV ratings will not suffer if he does, and the talking heads will have no shortage of talking points. So we'll see. That's next week, of course. That tournament needs no introduction, so we'll have obviously a loaded show for you next week for the Masters, and plenty of good content as well. And also be sure to check out Scores and Odds, our Rotogrinders sports betting arm, the number one place to find all things sports betting. Got expert picks, analysis, and tools over there. We constantly been rolling out new stuff, giving you all the advantages you need to become a better sports bettor. Check that out at scoresandodds.com to get more information. So with that, I think we're going to put a bow on this week's show. Again, fairly weak field at the bottom, so didn't take us too much time to get through those value plays. But wish you the best of luck in the warm-up week to the Masters, and we'll catch you back here next week. And be sure to tune in for the show. So mark your calendars for around that 7:45 Eastern time slot for next week, and maybe if we can get enough people chatting along with us live in the Discord next week, maybe we can do a giveaway or something. We'll have to coordinate that with Devin. So thanks to Devin for producing behind the scenes for us. Thanks to Noto, as always, for joining me. I'm Justin. Have a great week, and good luck with all your lineups, everybody. We'll see you back here next week for the Masters.